Well, hey guys, what's up? It's your boy, one and only AI Legends on my second channel, AI Legends 2. And yeah guys, today I am back with another series which is going to be what if Naruto had Ben Tennyson powers and was neglected. Well guys, in this series you can say Naruto is going to have all the powers of the Omnitrix in him, as you can say, and he is going to be neglected by his family, as Naruto is going to be really OP. So yeah guys, if you guys like the series in which Naruto is pretty OP and multiple powers, so this series is definitely for you guys. So yeah guys, please enjoy the series. And yeah, before starting this video, I would like to make a request to all of you guys who are watching this video. If you guys are new to this channel, or if you guys have not subscribed yet, please guys do so. It will really help me a lot, as I want to reach 10k as quick as possible in this channel as well, and on my first channel. So yeah guys, please subscribe. So without wasting any more of your time, let us start this video of ours. As I'm going to start this video just like the usual, as Night as attack still happened, but this time, instead of only Naruto being born, there were triplets, none other than Manma and Naruto and Naruto. Since many people were calling me that always Mito, and she already has a name of, you can say, for Hashirama's wife, so yeah, Naruto will also suffice, I guess, as Manma, Naruto and Naruto, as these were the three triplets, as Minato was already fighting off against the Nine Tails, but then third Hokage arrived in the nick of time and performed the demon ritual, in which you can say he summoned a demon by the name of Victor, self-proclaimed the Shinigami, because of the death rate he has called, as he was able to split the Nine Tails into two halves. Not only that, as he was able to cut the Nine Tails power, as Minato has already told Third Hokage that how he's going to seal off the 4 tails worth of chakra into Manma, and 4 tail, you can say, worth of chakra into Naruto, and 1 tail worth of chakra into Naruto, as well as the soul, because Naruto has blonde hair just like Minato. So Minato thought that he has Namikaze gene dominance in him rather than Manma and Naruto. Both of them had red hair, being signifying that both of them were Uzumakis, as Third Hokage was able to knock Minato out and was able to perform the demon ritual, as he sealed away as the Nine Tails into the triplets. After some time, Minato still woke up and pretty sad at the loss of, you can say, Third Hokage. And yeah guys, we always need a hating factor, so Naruto does is going to possess the soul, body and 1 tail's worth of chakra in him. So yeah guys, that was the previous story. Now let us start the video. As in this time, both Kushina and Minato did not like Naruto that much, but still he was just a kid. They simply cannot just throw him into the streets or anything like that. That will definitely cost them their reputation, as well as they did not want to do it as well. I just don't want to make them too heartless. So yeah, that is that. As now the time started to pass on, and finally, before the 4th birthday of the triplet, Jiraiya arrived. But before starting to do that, now let us cut back to the other side of the universe, as a lone shape was floating within the space, as inside of the shape there was a small person, but this small guy has a brain which can rival the geniuses of all the generations. This guy was none other than the creator of the Omnitrix, none other than the Azimuth, as Azimuth was looking around the planets, as he had a computer in front of him. This universe has a lot of strange DNAs. Not only one ability, but several abilities are possessed by these people, especially that kind. Otsutsuki's, huh? It seems that they are like parasites in this universe, able to eat away the planet's life force, also known as this strange energy. Chakra, huh? Well, special to those Rinnegan, Tensegan, Byakugan, and Jogan, and Rine Sharingan. Pretty interesting abilities, Jawas, as supercomputers started to speak up. Well, Lord Azimuth, all the DNA has already been taken, and at the moment we have most of the DNA of the strong species in this universe. So, are we going to recreate the Omnitrix? As Azimuth simply shook his head. Omnitrix was a great weapon, and his true wielder was none other than Ben Tennyson, who has died years ago. And now eons has passed. It's time for a new defender, and with a new power, not with the Omnitrix, but with all the powers of the Omnitrix. As Jarvis simply nodded at that. So, are we going to start the project N? As Asma simply nodded at that and said, "It's about time I pay a planet a visit. Bring me to the earth of this planet, Jarvis." As Jarvis simply nodded at that. now let us cut back to Naruto's POV. As in this time, Naruto was 4 years old. Well, many people say that Naruto at 4 years old is like a prodigy of the generation. Well, there are series, as a matter of fact, I have made myself that series in which 4 years Naruto have too much intelligence. But in this series, for the sake of the video, as Naruto is not going to be that intelligent that he can easily see how much favoritism there is, because there are always, you can say, fights between the siblings and things like that. So yeah. Though Naruto was able to notice that how his parents favor Manma and Naruto way too much, then more than him, but still he did not care about that much. After all, he was just 4 years old and he does not have that much conscience to begin with. Now, let us cut back to Jiraiya POV before the 4th birthday, or let's just say that 5th birthday of both Manma, Naruto and Naruto. Jiraiya finally arrived as he said, Minato, I have great news for you, come with me. As Tsunade was also at, well, you can say, speaking with Kushina as she looked towards him. What happened to you, Bo? As Jiraiya looked towards Tsunade, it's a great news, come with me. As all of them simply started to, you can say, go to the library. As Minato said, so what happened, sensei? As Jiraiya had a huge smile on his face as he said, well, Minato, the old toad sage, right? As Minato simply nodded at that. Well, the old ancient toad, huh? The sage of the toads. As Jiraiya simply nodded at that as he said, Minato, he has seen the future of one of your children, or rather, he has predicted the future of one of your children born by Yellow Flash of Konoha and the Red Death of Konoha, born a being who shall possess the power mighty to, you can say, rival many, as he has the destiny for greatness and achieve great powers not seen in this world ever. As Kushina along with Minato were really surprised. They never thought it through, you can say, the old toad sage would be able to see the future of one of their children. As Jiraiya said, not only that, he shall have the power to save the world, and far more than that. As Minato said, what do you mean by that? And what is this strange power are you talking about, Jiraiya sensei? As Jiraiya said, well, Minato, I believe that it would be one of Manma and Naruto. After all, both of them possess the 90th chakra, and if they're able to control that chakra, you know that there was no one who was ever able to control the chakra of the QB. Not even Kushina, who was the previous Jinchuriki, never bothered to use it because Kushina was already strong enough and did not have to rely on that chakra. But I think that if both Manma and Mito are able to master it, they will be able to reach their true destiny and true future of peace. As Minato thought about it for some time, as Tsunade said, it seems that you have a great burden on your shoulder, Hokage. As Minato simply, you can say, ruffled his hair and said, well, you want me to train both Manma and Naruto to control the 90th chakra? To be honest, I never thought about it and did not thought that it would be a great idea teaching them, but if it is their destiny and future, then I shall do it for the world. And will you help me, Kushina-chan? As Kushina said, believe it, Minato-kun, I'm going to help you, and my children are going to become great and they shall achieve great powers. As Jiraiya also had a smile on his face as a frown came to the face of Tsunade and said, wait a minute, what about Naruto? At this, you can say, she noticed a dark look passes through the eyes of Kushina along with Minato for a split second. As Jiraiya simply shook his head. Well, I don't think that he suits within the, the predictions of the old toad. I think that, well, he's just 5 years old. It's not time to train him. Either way, he can go to the academy later on. It's about the future and the world. And if the old toad had said that great destiny is linked with both Manma and Naruto, then we have to help them. As Tsunade simply looked at Jiraiya and said, well, he said one of his children. What will happen if Naruto was the one, the chosen one? As Jiraiya simply shook his head. What are you talking about? Tsunade, you and I both know that both Manma and Mito are far, you can say, active than Naruto, who just like to read and nothing more than that. As Tsunade simply shook his head, well, I want you, didn't I? I want you. Just remember that, Jiraiya. And Jiraiya simply scoffed. I don't think that he is going to achieve much in the future. But either way, let's just forget about it. We have 2 children to take care of, and soon enough they will become strong. As Tsunade simply shrugged and said, well, I was thinking of taking Naruto as my apprentice either way. So yeah, no loss to me. As he simply nodded at that, I knew that you will see my point, Tsunade. As Tsunade simply scoffed and said, just don't bring me into this. As after saying that, she simply went off. As Minato was thinking about this, all of this information in his head, Naruto was the firstborn and therefore the heir to the both Uzumaki and the Namakaze clan. While on the other hand, you can say both Minato and Kushina did not like Naruto that much, but still they did not hated him that much as well. It was just the QV and his soul inside of Naruto that they hated and unconsciously ignored and neglected Naruto as well. Now, let us cut back to the 5th birthday of the triplets. As the birthday still happens as usual, as Naruto did not get too many gifts, but still, he was pretty happy as he got a single scroll about some chakra control and things like that. As Naruto was pretty happy with that, though his siblings were, you can say, not that much, you can say, like Naruto, as they were seems redheads, so they like to hang out with each other more than Naruto, as if you can say he was a paranoia or anything like that, but it doesn't matter at the moment, as the birthday still happened. And now after the party, as both the triplets were sitting in front of Minato, as Manma had a smile, has a huge grin on his face. Dad, are you going to really start what you said? As Minato had a smile on his face. But of course, Manma, I promised, didn't I? As Manma said, hooray, as he jumped within the air. As Naruto also had a smile on his face. But Naruto has a perplexed, you can say, confused look on his face as he said, hey, what are you guys talking about? As Minato had a frown on his face. As Manma speak up, before Minato could say anything, we are going to start our training. That's what's going on. As Naruto was pretty surprised. No one informed him about the training or anything like that. As he said, as he looked towards Minato, really, Dad, are we going to start our training? As he had a, you can say, glee in his eyes. At this, Minato felt a, you can say, a bit guilty about it. But that guilt simply was stomped over. You can say, with a bit of anger, hatred, or anything like that, or the excuses which both Minato as well as Kushina were making for years now. As Minato simply shook his head, well, Naruto, at the moment we are just going to start the training of your siblings, not yours. At this, Naruto's eyes widened, as even Naruto was a bit surprised, but Manma did not care that much. After all, he was special, just like his mom and dad always told him, as well as Naruto, and never Naruto, which meant that Naruto was nothing special and both of them were far out of his league. As Naruto said, what do you mean by that, Dad? As Minato simply shook his head, Naruto, you will start with the basics, and when time arrives, we will start the training. Yeah, that will suffice with that. As Naruto was pretty sad about it, but he simply shook his head. Alright. After saying that, he simply went off. As Kushina said, well, that got better than we thought. As Minato simply sighed and nodded at that and said, well, are you guys ready? So, today is the day we are going to start your training. As both of them jumped within the air and ready for their training. Now let us cut back to far away from the village hidden in the leaves. As there was an underground basement in which several figures were standing in front of each other. As these figures, and one of them had the ripple pattern eyes in his sockets, as this guy was none other than Pain, the leader of the organization Akatsuki, as he was talking with the other members of the Akatsuki. As then one of the, you can say, members started to appear from the ground. As Pain looked towards him. Zetsu, what's the news? As Zetsu said, well, leader Sama, I have gathered all the information about the Jinchurikis and their village status, and soon enough we will start our plans. As Pain simply nodded, from 16 years from now we shall start our plans. At the moment we have to recruit even further members. As he looked towards a masked member that was hiding within the shadows, known as Tobi, or also known as Madara Uchiha. As he simply nodded at that. As Zetsu speak up, it seemed that we have a bit of trouble, Lord Pain. If we are going to start our plans 11 years from now, then we have a bit of trouble. As Pain simply looked towards him. What happened now, Zetsu? As he said, well, it seemed that both of the 90s Jinchurikis are being trained by Yellow Flash of Konoha, known as Minato, Namikaze, and the Red Dad. And I have also heard that both of the Sanin, Slug Sanin, as well as the Toad Sanin are going to help with the training of both of them. At this, all the Akatsuki members eyes widened. No one wanted to face the Jinchurikis to begin with, but two Jinchurikis who are going to be trained by 4 S-rank shinobi means trouble. If they are able to control the 90s chakra, then it is even further of trouble. as then Pain simply shook his head. We cannot allow them to train. As then one of the members speak up. So Lord Pain, are we going to kidnap them for early? As Pain simply shook his head. At the moment, our organization is not strong enough to fend off all the elemental nations. If news spread that the Jinchurikis are being kidnapped, then we will have a lot of trouble capturing them. As he simply shook his head, as then Pain looked towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru, I have a job for you. As Orochimaru hissed and said, but of course, Lord Pain, what I can do for you? As Pain said, I want you to make a poison which can literally destroy the chakra coils of even the Jinchurikis. I want them to be weakened. When we have to capture them, we cannot have four of the Excellent Shinobis, your two former teammates training, both of the Jinchurikis, they will be way too strong to capture on the later date. As Orochimaru had a glee in his eyes, finally it was a time for his revenge. Finally he will have his revenge and no one will decline it. And Orochimaru had a huge smirk on his face and said, but of course, Leader Sama, your wish is my command. As he said, but there would be a little trouble with that. As Pain looked towards him, what do you mean by that? Are you telling me that you cannot make such a poison? As he said, but of course not. Lord Pain, I can easily make a poison, but it is a 9-days chakra which has a healing factor, and on top of it, both of them were actually Uzumakis and having an additional healing factor. I can destroy their chakra coils, but it will not be permanent, though it will take some years for them to recover from it. But still, it will not be permanent for the lifetime, as Pain thought it for some time. Still, if they can destroy some of the ears, then in few years they cannot get too strong for him to handle. As he simply nodded at that. It does not matter, Orochimaru. If you can destroy the chakra coils for few years, their training will finally be disturbed and we will have a lot of time so that our organization could get even stronger. As Orochimaru simply nodded at that, this will be the perfect revenge by the hands of Orochimaru, who will destroy the future of the next generation of the Leaf, who will destroy the both of the Jinchurikis, and finally have his revenge on Minato Namikaze, who took away the seat of 4th Hokage from him. He was a snake Sonin. He was far stronger than that brat Minato Namikaze, as who was denied of the title of 4th Hokage, as Orochimaru is going to have his revenge no matter what. As he simply smirked inwardly and went off to make the poison, while on the other hand Toby had a smirk on his face. Let's see, Minato sensei, you may have survived our battle, but let's see how far you can actually go. As Obito Uchiha had a smirk on his face. As some time passes on, as Naruto was just reading books and some, you can say, chakra control exercises, as he was able to unlock his chakra, but still, as it was not that much progress. But in this time, he was simply looking towards his family, training day in, day out, and things like that. As Naruto was starting to get forgot by his family, as each and every day they were simply forgetting about him even more and more. No matter what he does, always he try to, you can say, eat something else, but it was always Manma and Naruto saying something else. So things started to get a bit too complex between him as well as his family, while on the other hand both Minato and Kushina just wanted excuses to avoid Naruto no matter what. Always when they look towards him, they always see the mocking face of the Nine-Tails, saying that how he was able to kill off so many people, but still he was living comfortably inside of their son. As this was a mock, a insult to both Minato and Kushina. So unconsciously they started to hate Naruto for hosting Nine-Tails when Nine-Tails should have died for killing so many innocent people. Though they could already tell that it was not Naruto's choice or Nine-Tails could not be killed, but still the blame was always there and they always wanted someone to put their blames on. So who's better than the one who's keeping the Nine-Tails inside of him comfortably while as he was living, while so many people died, as they did not like that and they will not accept it as well. As if Naruto is hosting the Nine-Tails inside of him, then they will not host Naruto as a proper member, as that was their stupid logic at the unconscious minds. So that is that. Now let us cut back to, you can say, as Kabuto already had got the poison as he was simply looking towards both Manma as well as Naruto training outside, while on the other hand both Minato as well as Kushina went inside as Naruto was in the shadows of the tree simply looking towards both of his siblings trying to read his book or something like that as Kabuto pull out you can say a small you can say gun or anything like that in which he can throw the small needles as he said, well, Lord Orochimaru has put me in this duty, Shadow Clone Jutsu, as a Shadow Clone appeared as he gave him the second gun and said, alright, you know already what you have to do, right? As he simply nodded at that, we just have to target both of the Jinchurikis, and with a single touch of it, their chakra coils will finally be destroyed and our mission will be accomplished. As he simply nodded at that, so get ready about it. As he simply pointed towards both of the siblings, while on the other hand Manma was simply sparring with Naruto and he had a smirk on his face. Hey loser! As he looked towards Naruto, who was simply trying to read his book or something like that, as Naruto simply ignored him, as Manma had a tick mark on his face. Hey loser, didn't you hear me? As Naruto sighed as he looked towards Manma, when Minato started to train both Manma as well as Naruto. Both of their attitudes had gone, you can say, even down the hill, as he could already tell that both Naruto as well as Manma were thinking that he was just some worthless person and who has no right whatsoever. So that is the main reason their parents are not treating him properly, and that was the main reason he was being treated like this, an outcast to begin with. There has to be something wrong with it, right? As that was their stupid logic or something like that. Who cares? As now Naruto sighed, what do you want, Manma? As Manma said, nothing much. I just want to see how strong you actually are. Or I just want to tell you that how worthless you actually are. That is the main reason that mom and dad are not training you. As Naruto sighed, why don't you go back to whatever you were doing, Manma? I have better things to do. As Manma scoffed, as if reading that book of yours, that is not going to help you become a shinobi. Come, let me tell you how a strong shinobi actually fired with a smirk on his face. As Naruto simply sighed, you're not going to let this go, aren't you, Manma? As Manma sighed and said, don't worry, I will not hit you that bad. And with a smirk on his face, as Naruto sighed and said, alright. As Manma had a huge smirk on his face, finally it's about time that he show his brother who the true boss actually is and why he was so worthless. As he had a smirk on his face, while on the other hand Kabuto was preparing his launcher to hit both Naruto as well as Manma at the same time so that he can be done with it. As after all, aiming for the house of the cage is not that easy. He was able to avoid as well as distract all the ambush that were in station all around the house of Minato. So now it would be far too easy for him to do his deed and be done with it and destroy the chakra coils of both of the Jinchurikis. After all, the Akatsuki did not consider Naruto a Jinchuriki because they thought that he only had the soul, but they did not knew that he also had a 1/10 worth of chakra, but still it was not that much. So they would not even care if he has 1/10 worth of chakra to begin with. So yeah, that is that. As he was now finally ready, as Manma said, alright, here I come, as he rushed towards Naruto with incredible speed for the 5 years old, or rather to be soon to be a 6 years old kid, as Naruto was pretty surprised, as he was able to block the punch of Manma with his arm, as he was able to move around, as he was practicing some of the moves from the small books, as he tried to sweep kick Manma, but Manma was able to, you can say, jump over the kick as he delivered a punch to the face of Naruto, which sent him tumbling back. As Manma smirked as he released, you can say, barrage of attacks towards Manma and all that. Now let us cut back to, you can say, a lone figure which was a lone ship which was floating over the heads of all the, you can say, planet, monitoring different villages and the custom of the world. As Azimuth was looking towards him with a scowl on his face and said, this world is pretty strange. I never thought that an earth like this I would ever see. It seemed that in this world everything is allowed, crimes and things like that. If it is not against them, then they would not care. Pretty interesting actually. As He was looking through the reports and things like that. He was able to figure out the five major villages and the strongest life force were coming from several people, but those were from special clans. But the strongest of them all was, which was interested him, was the how they actually use their chakra, and especially those beasts, which was he was able to monitor. When finding two life force inside of a single body, he was able to find the identities of the Jinchurikis, the one-tailed Jinchuriki residing in sand, two-tailed Jinchuriki in Kumo, three in the mist, four in the rock, and so long as especially as he was able to monitor most of the people, it seemed that the Jinchurikis were not treated so well, especially that art of their stealing. This chakra thing, it was really interesting. Now, as he was going through all the things and finally came to the three long strong life forces, and these were the forces of a kid, as he was simply looking towards it, pretty intrigued, as the nine-tails Jinchuriki, it seemed that the nine-tails was somehow split, and with his body separated from his powers and having a bit of power of his own, as he was at the moment watching the battle going on of the Jinchurikis. As he said, these are still kids, not that impressive, but let's see. As he was simply watching the small battle which was going on, as Manma was already beating Naruto, and Naruto was on the ground huffing and puffing pretty badly, as Manma smirked. Told ya, didn't I? You are nothing special. That's the main reason Mom and Dad did not even bother to train you, because they knew that you were born for nothing special. As after saying that, he scoffed as Naruto simply looked away into faraway area, but then Naruto's eyes widened for a moment. Even though most of the people might underestimate Naruto, but Naruto was training his senses as well as his eyes, as he could see from the far away a person was aiming for his brother. As Naruto's eyes widened as he jumped into the area when a small tree was released. Small arrow as was heading towards Manma, as Naruto said Manma, as he was rushed towards Manma, as Manma thought that he was about to attack, so Naruto also moved, avoiding the small pain that was coming for him, as the pain simply aimed at Naruto's shoulder, as Naruto let out a scream of small pain. At this, both Kushina as well as Minato, who knew that Manma was parting with Naruto, though they did not bother, came outside wondering what is actually going on there, as they could see Naruto was unconscious to the ground, as having a small pain at his, the shoulder, as Minato approached him consciously, as he grabbed the pain, wondering if it was a poison, as he simply moved with the flying Raijin, bringing Naruto to the hospital finally. As after some time, things started to play out, as Manma explained the whole situation, that out of nowhere, Naruto simply jumped on him, and then the pain simply hit him. And Naruto also showing the small, pain that was heading towards her, while on the other hand, Kabuto cursed under his, breath, how he could have, lost the both of the Jinchuriki, which were his aim. Now he has to answer to Orochimaru, which would definitely not be pretty. While on the other hand, Azimuth was watching this. He was a bit touched by this action, even though he could already see that his parents along with his siblings does not like him, but still he was able to put himself in front of his brother in the time of need, and that was really something. But now let's see how things actually play out, as this got his bit of interest. While the supercomputer was already going on through all the uses of chakra across the world with the help of small drones that were spread across the whole elemental nations and secret organizations. So yeah, that is that. As now let us get back to Naruto, who simply groaned, as now he could hear some people talking outside, as doctors were looking towards both Minato and Kushina, as Kushina has a passive look on her face, as well as Minato, as if they did not care that much if he was alive. So yeah, that is that. As doctor said, well, Lord Hokage, we have treated him. It seemed that it was some type of poison, as even though it will not kill him or anything like that, but still there are some consequences of the poison, as Minato said. And what would that be, consequences? As he sighed and said, well, it seemed that the young Lord Chakra network has literally destroyed. At this, Kushina's eyes widened for a moment, as Minato was also pretty surprised and shocked. Even though they may not consider Naruto a Jinchuriki, but still he had the ninth chakra inside of him of one tails, which was more than enough to destroy any type of poison, which means that this poison aimed for both Naruto as well as Manma, but it got hit Naruto. As he said, it is not like he will never be able to use chakra, but still, for some time, his chakra coils are pretty badly destroyed. So, because of the Uzumaki healing factor and his special chaos, he should be able to heal in few years, but still, it will take some time. I think 5 to 6 years are still needed. As while on the other hand, Naruto was simply eyes widen. No, it simply cannot be. After all these things, he finally hoped to become a strong shinobi, hoped to protect everyone, hoped to prove everyone that he was also special. He was just not nobody. As but now his dream was finally broken. But then at least his family will be there for him. But then Minato said, well, better him than Manma and Naruto. After all, both of them are special. At this, Naruto's heart simply broke, shattered into several pieces. As Kushina sighed, well, I also thought that he would not have made for great in the arts or in the field of the shinobi. So I think that it is better for him that he does not become a shinobi. As Minato simply nodded at that, as he simply went off, not even bothering to come inside of the room to see if the sun was still breathing or anything like that. While inside of the heads of Minato and Kushina, it was the perfect revenge on the Nine Tails, who prided himself of being the strongest being, that his Jinchuriki was nothing, as not even a shinobi or anything strong, and Nine Tails could not even heal him, as this was the perfect revenge in the eyes of both Minato and Kushina, though they even forgot that this originally aimed for Menma and Naruto to begin with, as they simply shook their head and went off to their merry way. As at that night, Naruto simply cried to the bed in the hospital, as Tsunade also arrived, wanted to see what actually happened to the chakra coils, and she also confirmed that how Naruto's chakra coil are pretty badly injured and destroyed, though because of the healing factor of the Nine Tails and the Uzumaki genes, he will be able to use chakra, but later on in the days. And in the age of 11, if his chakra coil started to heal, then when will he become a shinobi to begin with? As and all the training, his parents plainly refuses to give him any training whatsoever, and it will not be any different. He was sure that they wanted him to be a civilian, nothing more than that. But why? Why was he actually hated? As at that night he simply cried to the bed, but then his eyes opened as a growl could be heard. As Naruto's eyes widened, he was in a sewer. As he looked around to see water dripping everywhere, as he simply started to walk towards the small amount of light which he could see on the other side of this alley. As he arrived on the scene to see the gigantic gate in front of him, as Naruto's eyes widened for a moment, and then a growl could be heard from inside. Stupid human! As Naruto took a step back unconsciously, as the red eyes opened within the shadows, and then a figure started to walk towards him. As Naruto eyes widened, this was the huge, gigantic form of the Nine Tails. As at this, Naruto's eyes widened, he heard stories about how the legendary third Hokage defeated the Nine Tails, as well as his father also fought the battle there. So what was it doing here? As Kurama growled at him, foolish human. Not only that, I had so less of my power sealed inside of a puny human like you, and on top of it, you even lost the ability to become a damn shinobi. Do you have any idea how much of an insult it is for me, the greatest Biju in ever existence, to be sealed inside of a tiny human like you, and on top of it, not even a shinobi, a damn civilian? You destroyed your chakra coils, and even with my yokai, I cannot heal it. As Naruto simply looked towards him, but who are you? As Kurama growled, don't act insolence in front of me, child. I know that you already know who I am, don't you? As Naruto simply was in utter shock, as this was Nine Tails. As Kurama growled, as he started to explain the whole story, that how his siblings has most of its power and Naruto only has one tail worth of chakra and his body and consciousness. As this, Naruto was literally in shock as he started to cry there in front of Kurama. Though Kurama was a pretty, you can say, evil being, but still he felt a bit bad, but that was crushed with the pure anger and the humiliation which came being the, you can say, the Biju of this Jinchuriki. as his was scoffed as went off inside of the seal, leaving the crying child there. And so that's why my parents hate me, but my siblings also have that power. Or is that they only cared about the power? As Naruto simply shook his head, as there was nothing he could do. His chakra coils were destroyed. His dream to become a shinobi was destroyed. His dream to prove himself that he was also special was also destroyed. As he was simply crying. Now let us cut back to, you can say, some days after the sixth birthday, after triplets finally arrived, while on the other hand Azimuth was looking towards it. This scene started to get a bit interesting, especially the behavior of his parents. He remembered when he was in a relationship with his girlfriend and because of his own mistake wanted to make that sword, that damn stupid sword which made so many troubles, as he lost the love of his life, and how ignorant he actually was. And this family, after looking towards it, he was wondering if he ever had a family, would he acted just like those parents towards his own son? As he simply shook his head. He was a genius and not an emotional fool. He works on a logic. He was far too familiar with Minato's plane of thought and things like that, way too much ambitious and things like that. So he knew that inside of his heart that he would be like Minato, ignoring his flesh and blood and things like that, along with that woman who called him who called herself his mother. But now he had a gut feeling that things are going to get even more hectic soon enough, as it was the sixth birthday. In this time, Naruto was trying to get together as much. It was only Tsunade who was giving him a bit of, you can say, courage and things like that. While on the other hand, Menma simply scoffed on his face, saying that how if he was strong, he would have dodged the whole needle and attack or things like that. And it was to no help to Menma. At this, Naruto was pretty angry, but sadness was far greater than that. So he simply did not say anything. Now, the final straw is going to be destroyed, as after the party, Minato simply stood up as he sighed and said, already knowing what he's actually going to do. As he said, today is the sixth birthday of my children's. So today I congratulate all three of you. But today is going to be another important announcement. At this, all the clan heads were there, were simply looking towards the fourth Hokage, what he has to say. As Minato said, today is the day I declare my son Menma Uzumaki Namikaze to the heir to the Namikaze clan, and my daughter Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze to the heir to the Uzumaki clan. So clap for them, as all of them started to clap, but most of the clan heads were in utter shock, as Naruto, though was a child, but still, as a child, he knew about several laws of Konoha, especially this one, as Naruto could not believe it. His parents has finally disowned him. But why? As he knew he was the heir. But saying that the title of the heir has been taken from him, which means that he was no longer the heir and no longer the part of the Uzumaki or Namikaze clan. As tears started to come to his eyes, his parents did not even say a word to him when he came back. They didn't even bother to thank him that he has saved their prized children, Menma and Naruko. If Naruto did not move towards Menma, Menma would have hit by the, you can say, needle, along with Naruko, who would have been never thought that Naruto was about to attack Menma or try to save Manma or anything like that, or try to beat Naruto. So that was the reason she also moved, dodging the whole needle thing, as they didn't even bother to thank him or anything like that, as he ran with the tears streaming from his eyes. As the Inoichi, you can say, clan, Nara clan, simply they shook their head while looking towards Minato in disbelief, as Minato simply avoided their gaze, as both Menma as well as Naruko had huge smirks on their faces. This was boosting their ego even further, as Naruko said, it seems that we are far stronger and far better choice than our loser of a brother, as Menma smirked as well, but of course we are far better than him. Now let us cut back to Naruto as he was running, as not knowing very where he actually is going, but unknowingly he was heading towards the Hokage monument at the head of the third Hokage, which was always a face which he admired, as third Hokage was the hero of the village and many people looked up to him, so he always wanted to be just like him, a hero who protect everyone and always remembered as a legend. As This time he was not stopping at that unknowingly because of the speed, as he was not able to stop at the time, and almost it was like he jumped from the Hokage monument. While on the other hand, Azimuth was looking towards all of this scene and whole thing, already figured out that if the clan heir is disowned, then therefore he is disowned and from the clan. While on the other hand, he was looking towards this kid, all this suffering and all, but still he could see that he did not want to jump. It was an accident. As they simply nodded, it seemed that we have found a successor, aren't we? As they looked back to, you can say, a lone picture or a hologram which was made inside of the ship of a true hero, a true legend of Ben Tennyson. As he simply smiled, and then a small button was pressed before Naruto could even hit the ground. A, you can say, green light hit him, and then he started to float within the air and push towards the airship which was floating over the whole Konoha and simply went off as Naruto simply opened his eyes to see he was in a room, a far too greater for a room. But yeah guys, here I have left this part. Hope you guys enjoyed it. For the next part you guys already know the like goal, which is going to be 250 likes and 180 comments. Do that and I shall upload the next part as quick as possible. And yeah guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, please subscribe. In the next part we will see that how Naruto is going to get all the powers of the, you can say, several aliens, and even the powers of the Usususkis and the DNA of this universe and several other abilities, as the far greater destiny is waiting for our hero. So hope that you guys enjoyed it. And yeah guys, it's just a story in and a fiction and imagination, so there is nothing special, gods, deities and things like that, and even the aliens. So don't try things in which you hate it at home, because I heard a, you can say, a person was telling me that how a child was throw, you can say, water balloon on the face of his father by saying Rasengan. So it was, you can say, pretty funny of a comment or funny of a discussion I had with one of my friends on the Instagram. So don't try things that at home. So yeah guys, hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, peace.